us, it's interesting, Jeremy Hall, it's interesting you say that. Stop seeing us as roaches and parasites. Here we go. So somebody was just saying in the chat that the rich should stop seeing us, that all people want is for the rich to stop seeing us as cockroaches, as less than human. And I want to really tie that sentiment to this tweet from earlier today from Elon Musk. Now, Elon has a long history of not so subtly crypto-hating poor people as impure, as unclean, as literally subhuman. He's talked in the past about how he hates public transport because it's full of like dirty people. This is maybe one of the most alarming and fully mask-off fascist sentiments I've seen anybody associated with the government say. Outside of Trump. It's so rare that you get two stories side by side that show exactly somebody's like true opinions on something. Matt Walsh has been, I'm not going to go look at him because but you can see the way Matt Walsh literally defends Daniel Penny, the person who just killed a man in broad daylight, held him in a chokehold for 20 minutes, far past the point any reasonable person would actually choke somebody unconscious. A murderer, Matt Walsh is calling a hero. Yet, the health insurance CEO killer, now that's a vicious leftist to people like Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro, which kind of tells you where their priorities are at and how they value human life. They don't. They value capital. They value the people that make money, not actually people. And, especially when it comes to Matt Walsh, if it's a person of a different color, like that's basically less than human for him. Now, Elon Musk saying in most cases, the word homeless is a lie. It's usually a propaganda word for violent drug addicts with severe mental illness. Let's look at this actual article, shall we? SF Chronicle covers what happens when you just give the homeless housing. And so this is going to be Elon's new thing about how like, obviously we shouldn't just give the homeless housing. Okay, Elon, what's your alternative to deal with them, buddy? If it's not to actually try and get people clean. Now, I'm going to ask some questions up front before I even look at this. What was the funding like for this operation? Were they understaffed? Were they underfunded? Did they have the resources allocated to actually get people off the streets, get them jobs, get them clean, have them live in a happy, productive life? I'm willing to bet they didn't. I'm willing to bet that, like a lot of organizations across the country, they are terminally underfunded as the homeless crisis continues to grow. As more and more people cannot afford housing, as the price of housing continues to fucking rise. But sure, Elon knows about being homeless. Elon knows all about what the word, propaganda word, homeless means. Sure, let's go with that. The authors are progressives who believe the solution to every problem is just more money. Spends millions of dollars to shelter its most vulnerable residents. Shelter its vulnerable residents in dilapidated hotels with little oversight or support. The results are disastrous. So, you mean to tell me that it is underfunded, that they are not specifically designed facilities, that they probably don't have any additional support structures, and it doesn't work? But the conservatives, the people like Elon Musk, the people who know shit about stuff, apparently, would want to tell you that, that just means that they just want more money. They're just grubbing after everybody else's human rights. Since 2020, at least 9 people have died of drug overdoses. One man was discovered after a foul stench seeped from his room into the hall. Levinson is one of thousands of poor, sick, or highly vulnerable people left to languish and at times die in unstable, underfunded... weird. So, again, here is a conservative dipshit pointing out that, they live in squalor, they fight and kill each other. They're trying to make this seem like this is their choice to do this. That, of course, if you give homeless people a place to stay, they're just going to turn it into a homeless place. If you let the rats in, it's gonna be a rat's nest. Is the idea that they are pushing here. The idea that Elon Musk is uncritically throwing out, calling being homeless a lie and propaganda for violent drug addicts with severe mental illness. Now, by the way, fucking rich of Elon Musk of all people to say like, oh, no, you shouldn't, the government shouldn't be giving people who don't deserve it money. Elon, try fucking buying a company without a government subsidy. In a complex arrangement, the city's Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing pays nonprofit groups to provide rooms and aid to formerly homeless people in about 70 single-room occupancy hotels known as SROs, which the nonprofits generally lease from private landlords. Well, there's your first problem. The buildings are the cornerstone of a $160 million program called Permanent Supportive Housing, which is supposed to help people rebuild their lives after time on the streets. $160 million a year is fucking nothing in a major city. $160 million a year? $160 million won't get you a fucking mainstream Hollywood movie. The NYPD budget is presented in the financial plan as $5.8 billion. Now, a lot of people don't know million to billion. A billion is 1,000 million. When it hits that next comma, that's a billion. With the budget of the NYPD, which is bigger than the GDP of a shit ton of countries, you could run this an uncountable amount of times over. I'm having that moment in Magic the Gathering where it's like, yeah, no, this goes infinite, and this is just going to make a shit ton of tokens, and like, do you actually want me to do the math because I just win? Like, that's what's happening in my mind here. I'm like, yeah, it's just math. It's a lot of fucking math. The amount of times this can go into that, fucking insane. But, again, people like Elon Musk, apparently the billionaires who are going to save us all, are the ones saying, well, no, we can't give more money to that because obviously it's not working. Look at the no money we gave to it. Look at the lack of resources we provide. Look at the lack of resources we lobby to provide. Look at all the times we vote against it. Look at all the times we cut spending to social welfare programs. And it's so they can sit and say from their ivory fucking towers, well, obviously, it doesn't work. Trying to help other people is socialism. Don't you see? The only real way is the way that makes me more money. And then they want to act surprised when they get got on the street behind their back. It's about 36 times. Thank you very much, scam.net. Oh, yeah, no, Red Oni. The Department of Defense budget this year was $849 billion. Another thing that they fucking just completely leave out in their assessment of like, oh, homeless people are all bad and evil. Do you mean you don't think they're surprised by the violence? Because that seems plausible as fuck. I think it's twofold. I think they are not surprised. So I think because people like Elon Musk literally see anybody as at a lower station as like less human, less intelligent, as certainly he probably thinks. I think there's an element of him, like people like him being like, well, of course, those commoners are such violent brutes roaming about, and you cannot trust yourself around these savages. Like, I think there's an element of that where they literally see people beneath them as having lower brain function. Like all of us are just Neanderthals, and they're just so enlightened and smart, and obviously, like, they make more money because they're so much smarter. So I think there's an element of that, but at the same time, I think there is an element of surprise where they're like, oh, shit, people are acting out against us. And if they get ideas about that and everything we're doing to oppress them constantly, that could end up real bad for us, which is something that Elon is definitely aware of. So here, again, another thing that they've conveniently left out of their little material analysis. But because San Francisco leaders have for years neglected the hotels and failed to meaningfully regulate the nonprofits that operate them, many of the buildings, which house roughly 6,000 people, have descended into a pattern of chaos, crime, and death, the investigation found. Critically, the homelessness crisis in San Francisco has worsened. So, again, not enough resources are allocated. Not enough oversight is guaranteed when you have people who are trying to get out of cycles of violence, drug abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, homelessness, trying to rebuild their lives from, I cannot stress this enough, fucking nothing. You have people who have nothing. And they have no way to get back on their feet. It's not surprising that the result is going to be more abuse, more drugs, more violence when there is not enough resources being supplemented. When there are not enough opportunities, not enough people going and saying, hey, let's set you up. Let's get you a job. Let's make sure that you can get clean if you want to, if you need to. $160 million. Are you fucking kidding me? $160 million. That's fucking nothing. That is nothing. Yeah, no, Baron Lewis, $160 million divided by 6,000 people is $26,000. In San Francisco prices, that's garbo. Well, okay, so here's the thing, Baron Lewis, that's not even, like, that is a good way to break it down per person, but that is not, the 26,000 is not going to each person. Like, what that 26,000 needs to go to is additional resources for those people. It needs to go to hiring more people. It needs to go to having therapists, on-call counselors, medical staff, drug overdose therapy, like trauma therapy. People do not understand, especially people like fucking Elon Musk, do not understand the internalized trauma that people who have lived on the streets carry with them. Whether that's because they were victims of abuse on the streets, sexually or otherwise, whether that's because they were basically forced to turn to drugs as literally any fucking escape, whether that's just because they had to fucking sleep outside, whether that's because they fucking saw somebody die in the cold. These are the unspoken issues that nobody fucking talks about. Do you want to know why people like Elon Musk don't talk about it? Because they literally don't want to see the humanity that they are turning their fucking backs on. Again, I want you out there. If I could radicalize you with one thing. I saw this tweet today and I thought, this is what everything fucking hinges on to me at this moment right now. If I could radicalize you with any one thing, it would be these fucking words from, quote unquote, the richest man in the world who just bought his way into a fake cabinet position. So that now this man gets to dictate, or, so purportedly, that's what the Doge will be, gets to dictate what government money and funding is spent on. The man who says homelessness is a lie and that homeless people are violent drug addicts with severe mental illness. HSH says its goal is to provide some residents with enough stability to enter more independent housing. But of the 515 tenants tracked by the government, a quarter died while in the program, exiting by passing away. City data shows additional 21% returned to homelessness and 27% left for an unknown destination. Only about a quarter found stable homes, mostly by moving in with friends or family or into another taxpayer-subsidized building. At least 166 people fatally overdosed, 14% confirmed overdose deaths in San Francisco. The year city leaders created the department, the number of homeless people in the city has increased by 56% since 2016. So the homeless population is growing. Why would Elon Musk, what do you think Elon Musk would say about that? Why would you think he would say the homeless population is growing? Do you think it's because of worsening economic instability? Do you think it's because of a ever-widening gap of wealth inequality in this country? Specifically centered around San Francisco and Silicon Valley, by the way. Do you think Elon would, you think that would be part of his analysis as a knower of history, as such he is? Yeah, oh, gosh, look, does this mean understaffed? Case managers who support residents have overseen as many as 85 tenants apiece in recent years, 5 times higher than federal recommendations. You know what that means? Hire more fucking workers. Hire more case managers. If you do not have the workforce to help people, you're not going to be able to help people. It's so frustratingly easy to see the solutions here. And yeah, I know these people want to be like, oh, they just want to spend more of our money, more of your hard-earned tax dollars. How many of your fucking tax dollars are going into bombs being dropped on Gazan civilians? Hundreds of millions? Billions? You think, how many of your tax dollars go to fucking subsidies so people like Elon Musk can sit on his fucking yacht all day playing Diablo 4 and shit posting to Twitter? You think they might be able to give a little bit more? They want to position this as, oh, this is the failure of socialism. No, this is the cruelty of capitalism laid fucking bare. It is a carrot on a stick that is just dangled in front of these people who've had everything stripped away from them by the world. And capitalism is literally, this is the equivalent of somebody just throwing some pennies in a homeless person's cup and saying, aren't you thankful? You're 100% more rich. You had nothing, now you have 4 pennies. But you aren't actually doing anything that will feasibly help them. You are not donating enough to actually help them. Timothy Isaiah, 57, whom the city placed on an upper floor of the West Hotel, even though he uses a wheelchair, said he repeatedly missed chemotherapy for his prostate cancer last year when a broken elevator trapped him in his room. Public records and interviews confirmed that the elevator was inoperable for 6 weeks this winter. If you want to know why people would leave, it's not because, oh, they just want to be drug addicts. The homeless, okay, this is the rhetoric Elon Musk uses here is unironically exactly the same as racial rhetoric, like pre-Jim Crow era. Because people used to say like, oh, you can't change blacks. You can't change Latinos. You go back even further. You can't change Italians. They love living in filth. That's where they're happy. That's what they come from. That's what they want. That's the same fucking log line Elon Musk is running right now. It's explicitly Nazi shit. But listen to what this is saying. Does this sound like somebody who wants to do this? Quote, I moved in there and the kitchen sink had human shit in it and the hotel has black mold, said Brewsty, also 57. Past public inspection records confirm similar violations in the Baldwin's common areas. Quote, so we said screw that and we started sleeping on the streets. So what you're telling me, again, in this piece of propaganda pushed directly by Elon Musk as, I guess, proof that giving support doesn't work, is showing that not giving support doesn't work. Not giving proper funding and allocating proper resources doesn't fucking work. Because yeah, if you have a shithole apartment where there's literally shit on the counters and black mold in the building, yeah, somebody might want to fucking sleep outside. Elon, people like him, the CEO class, let's call him, would tell you that, oh, that's just the way they are. Yeah, a 57-year-old person experiencing homelessness. 57-year-old with prostate cancer. That's just who has a wheelchair. Yeah, they definitely want to be in a place with human shit in the sink and black mold. That's where they're most comfortable. You fucking morons. Here we go. More than a third of the city's supportive housing SROs, including many that struggle with chronic problems and funding shortfalls documented by the Chronicle, are run by the Tenderloin Housing Clinic, or THC. Randy Shaw, the nonprofit's director, defended his buildings as high quality and blamed the city for placing only the most high-need tenants in his SROs without providing adequate resources and staffing to support them. We throw all these people into our hotels who have no demonstrated ability to live independently, who have severe problems and need to go elsewhere. Well, fuck you, dude. Shaw said, adding that there's often nowhere else for them to go. No, I live in downtown Spokane. Like, I live downtown. I see the homelessness issue every fucking day. It's not as visible right now because it's fucking freezing out. But, like, I told the story. I was walking home from getting, sushi at the mall. I have a sushi place that's, like, pretty cheap. It's, like, $10 for a roll. I mean, like, one of the basic rolls. Like, $10, pretty good size. I got it, and a dude flagged me down because he had to go to the bus plaza. Flagged me down because somebody was having a fentanyl overdose. I've told the story. Like, seeing people tweaking on the street, especially when it's still warm out, like maybe not right now, but when it's warm out, it's an everyday occurrence if you're outside. An everyday occurrence. Now, I've never seen any homeless person attack someone. Ever. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of homeless people. I've never seen any single one of them attack somebody else. Like, and people wonder why. People want to seriously contemplate and moralize when a CEO is killed. When a healthcare CEO is killed. Healthcare, the kind of shit in America that puts you on the street, that makes you fucking homeless. I was just looking at something. Oh, weird. October 4th, 2023. Medical debt puts housing out of reach for millions of consumers. About 1 in 5 report that this debt has forced them to change their living situation. Housing is considered one of the best social determinants of health. God damn, it's almost like all this shit is fucking related. So, I guess all of that is to say, fucking miss me moralizing and catastrophizing about, like, oh, won't somebody think of the poor CEOs? When every fucking day people die on the fucking streets because of the shit that CEOs are doing, because of the calls CEOs are calling. Because you have dipshits like Elon Musk actively dehumanizing